This is one of the greatest plays I've ever seen on a basketball court.
Don't want to see.
Oh, look at that Thompson go. Behind the back, scoop and score.
Hold up, let's just break that down for a second. At full speed, going behind the back to get past Jimmy Butler, and watch him then use his left to avoid the swipe from Pajemski, and with Draymond helping over the up and under reverse. Everyone, just take a second to appreciate what Amen Thompson just did on that play. And let's just take another second to pray for the rest of the NBA. Because whilst that might be his best highlight to date, it was by no means a fluke. Because some of the things we've seen Amen Thompson do in just 2 years in the NBA make zero sense.
Oh my goodness! Oh no, he didn't! Oh!
Landale to Thompson. Gallant dunks! Big time finish!
And what makes Amen so unique is, well, quite literally everything about his game. Because at his size, you don't see players with his ball handling ability. And if you do, they certainly don't have his speed or his jumping ability. And whilst there's been so much talk about if Amen gets a jumper or if he figures this out or this out, watch out for the rest of the league, look, that would be amazing. If Amen Thompson could shoot, it's lights out. But even without a jumper, as a second-year player, he was playing at a near all-star level. Because it's easy to forget, but at one point during last season, Amen Thompson was coming off the bench for the Rockets. I know, for all the great coaching Ime Udoka has done, that was clearly an oversight. But after he became a starter, he averaged 16 points, 5 assists, over 9 rebounds, a 60% true shooting to go along with 1.7 steals and 1.6 blocks. And he was also nearly a plus 300 in those 40 games. So he was most definitely contributing to winning. And that's what I mean when I say all-star production, because whilst he might not have averaged the 25 points a game that everyone is looking for, when you consider the over 3 stocks per game, the elite rebounding, the secondary playmaking, that's what you get from someone who is on an all-star, maybe even a superstar trajectory. And it's one thing to have that kind of production for half the regular season. What about in the playoffs? Because this was the biggest question mark over Amen last season. How would he look with the game slowed down and the defense much tougher? Would this be where we see his lack of a jump shot and his lack of a perimeter game really hurt him? Well, he came up against a defense in Golden State that were number 1 in the league after acquiring Jimmy Butler. And in his first playoff run, he averaged nearly 16 points, 7 boards, over 3 assists, and shot 50% from the field, also getting to the free throw line as well. So I think it's fair to say he did pretty well for his first playoff series. And that is just talking about the offensive side of things. You also have to consider throughout that whole series in which he averaged those numbers, he was chasing Steph Curry around screens all game long. He was fighting over screens. He was offering help side protection at the rim sometimes. He was fighting for rebounds. He was switching onto different players. He was doing absolutely everything defensively that we saw from him in the regular season, but just on steroids. And then he was asked to also be a good offensive player as well. I don't think that should be undersold. And while Steph had a good series, when Amen was guarding him, he did a pretty good job. Just like here in transition, where he sticks with Steph the entire way up the court. Steph tries to draw a foul, but Amen does a good job at not falling for it and forcing him into a bad miss. And this is the kind of defense that we saw from him all throughout the regular season. So it wasn't surprising to see him do it in the playoffs. And like I said, despite Steph's numbers being pretty good, a lot of those points came without Amen Thompson on him. And even if they were with Amen Thompson on him, I mean, it's Stephen Curry. Sometimes there's just simply nothing you can do. And just getting back to the offense, there's this idea that when a player isn't a great shooter, that all you have to do is sag off. But that doesn't necessarily work when he can just attack the space. Like here against Pajemski, and with post helping over, what even is that? Genuinely a double clutch two-handed layup against a 7-footer. It's just the change of speed, the ability to accelerate and then also decelerate that is just so impossible to guard. Like here against Draymond, one of the greatest defenders as ever. Amen loads up like he's going to blow past him, and then just the ability to stop, throwing Draymond completely off, and then the soft touch off the glass. And this is another attribute of his game that can make up for his lack of shooting. It is his touch. He doesn't need to get all the way to the rim to score. He has floaters, he has push shots, he even has the occasional mid-range jumper that we saw a lot more from him in the second half of the year, looking more comfortable, and we've seen him continue to look more comfortable in off-season workouts. And look, I know off-season workouts show Mitchell Robinson hitting pull-up threes and Ben Simmons hitting pull-up threes, but Amen Thompson has actually showcased he can do this in games, and he is just trying to take that to the next level over the course of this offseason. And whilst he might not have a jumper as of right now, he has touch around the rim that gives him a counter to when defenses are sagging off on him. And what makes Amen such an incredible prospect is you can spend all the time talking about his offense. I mean, I haven't even talked about his playmaking that doesn't get nearly enough credit, as someone who can make all kinds of reads, who can collapse the defense and kick it out to shooters, who can run pick and rolls occasionally, inverted pick and rolls if he wants to be the screener. His offensive bag is so much deeper than just someone who can attack in transition. But whilst you can talk about all of the untapped potential he has on offense, his best attribute right now is his defense. I highlighted how much effort he puts in, but it's not just effort. He gets results on that end. Just going back to the stats I mentioned earlier, 1.7 steals and 1.6 blocks per game. Just to emphasize how rare it is to have that combination of blocks and steals per game, the last players to do that in a season were Andre Drummond and Jonathan Isaac in 2020, and it was AD and Drummond the year before that. Now, whilst Drummond was not quite as good defensively as that might imply, basically what I'm saying is this is incredibly rare, and you only really see it from big men, because how often do you have guys playing the wing/guard position hitting over 1.5 blocks a game? You just don't. But it makes sense, because you also don't see athletes like Amen Thompson regardless of the position. And while stocks aren't always the be-all and end-all, Amen does all of that on top of what I showed you against Steph Curry, on top of chasing players around screens, on top of being able to switch onto bigger opponents and hold his own in the post at times. This is not someone who just simply waits and makes gambles defensively to inflate his block and steal numbers. He does all of that in addition to being a great on-ball defender. And if you want a great glimpse of Amen's versatility, watch him here where he's initially guarding Steph Curry. They switch the action, and then with another screen from Pods, he gets freed up, so watch Amen help off Jimmy and block the shot. These are such split-second decisions that Amen can not only execute in his mind, but he also has the physical tools to pair with it, which, as I said, is incredibly rare. Or, you know, something that a lot of other 6'7" players can do, which is guard someone like Evan Mobley, sticking with him on the body bumps, and then as the 7-foot Mobley goes up, he somehow gets even higher to block his shot. And if you're wondering, that was not a fluke. The Rockets are now adding Kevin Durant to that mix. I'm kind of frightened to see just how good Amen Thompson will be this year and going forward. And you know who else is pretty good? His brother. So if you want to see me talk about him, click on this video.